Howdy folks! One of the drawbacks with cheaper, inexpensive watercolors is that some may fade when exposed to light for an extended period of time. I really like using these Prang kits because they're cheap and they actually do a pretty decent job. I have the 8 color set and the 16 color. But I just use those for practice pieces where I can slop on paint and not have to worry about using inexpensive paints. And I might also use them for stuff that's not that important, that's in a notebook that won't see the light of day. Now I do have a better palette with Daniel Smith and Grumbacher Academy paints that are used for something that's better, but for goofing around, these are just fine for me. So anyways, I wanted to get a feel for exactly how pronounced the fading problem was with some of these pigments. So I'm not really sure what the testing protocol is, but what I did is I painted a set of swatches for every color, and I tried to make a nice uniform swatch going across, and then I cut it in half so I had 2 identical pieces, and one piece I folded up and kept in the dark, and the other piece I actually taped into a southern facing window so it was exposed to full sun. There weren't any obstructions to it for a period of 3 months. There were some differences, so let's take a closer look. Here are the results. The part of the strip on the left is the part that's been exposed to sunlight, and the part on the right was kept in the dark. And the top section is brown. That looks identical from side to side. The next one is red. I see a little bit of fading on the left here. I don't know if the camera can pick it up. I kind of expected that, or maybe even more, because you see a lot of red pigments and labels and things that are out in the sun get faded pretty easily, but actually that's not bad, so I was kind of surprised about that. This next one is the red-orange. That looks identical to me. The yellow-orange has a little bit of, it's a little bit lighter on the light exposed side. The orange is very similar, maybe slightly lighter. The next one is yellow, and that I do see it's quite a bit lighter. Still not bad, but definitely some fading there. Now they say that some of the pigments actually fade more when they're in a light wash or it's more pronounced. So if you're using the yellow, you might want to kind of err towards the heavy side. The yellow-green, boy, that looks pretty similar to me, maybe a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit bluer on the left, but pretty identical. The green looks identical to me. The turquoise blue is lighter. Doesn't look like any color shift, but a little bit lighter, not a big deal. The blue-green actually has a color shift. It's more greenish on the right side, and it's more bluish to where it was exposed to light. So maybe there's some yellow in there that faded away. And even the blue, I was surprised. I thought the blue would be more stable, but there's a definite color shift. It's more of a cobalt or a cerulean sort of brighter blue on the right, and more of a darker violet blue, kind of like a ultramarine on the left. So something faded off there in the sunlight. And the next one is the blue violet. Once again, a little bit of a color shift. It's a little bit more reddish on the right and a little bit more darker bluish on the left, but not a lot of fading. The violet was a real dark swatch. We don't see anything at all there. Now this is where we see a very, very pronounced effect, and this is on their red-violet paint. It's a pretty color coming off of the paint set, but when exposed to light, it totally bleached out to a gray. I guess my takeaway from this whole thing is not to use the red-violet, because that is really not at all stable. Some of the other colors have some fading, but it's really not that bad. Especially the yellow fades a bit, a little bit of color shift in some of them, but not really terrible for work that is not important. But there's also one other thing here too to look at. It's not really well known, but Prang actually makes another color that's not included in any of their sets, but you can buy it as a refill, and that's their Magenta. And since the red-violet faded so so badly. I wanted to see the magenta to see how that faded, wondering if it was any better. And this one I have reversed. I have the dark, the one kept in the dark on the left, and the one exposed to the right, to the light on the right. And I have two swatches of each, a darker swatch and a lighter color swatch, because supposedly it's a little bit different. So the top one is the magenta, and we definitely do see some fading over to the right here, but still a fair amount of color. And on a light wash, it went to a light magenta to just a very faded pink. And just to give it a reference, I did the red violet again. Definitely a bright, brilliant color here, and faded out quite a bit. The lighter wash faded out to a total gray. So both of these fade pretty badly, but I would definitely err with the magenta. In fact, I replaced my red violet in my kit with the magenta. The magenta, you can actually get some really neat colors. That and a little better fade resistance. I thought I would throw in the magenta. Well, that's it. I'm going to keep using my Prang paints for practice work and stuff that's not going to see the light of day, that's not important in a notebook. I did switch the magenta with the red violet, but I'm still going to avoid using the magenta because that's really subject to fade. I'll go a little bit heavier on the yellow, just not worry about it. Now I am doing a fade test that's in progress right now with my better palette with the Daniel Smith and Grumbacher Academy paints, and those will be completed shortly, so I will do a video and show the results of that one too to get some idea. Well, that's it. Thanks again, and happy painting to you.